Hi everyone, this is Gulab here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Jain Diet. Jainism I've talked about before on my channel, and today I'd like to dive into their lacto-vegetarian diet and the reasons for their diet. Alright, I have a few things I'm going to read about their diet, and we'll begin with this one here. This is based on a book by Dr. Hukam Chand Baril, Vegetarian Food and Jain Conduct. Often when discussions take place on vegetarian food, these are centered on green vegetables only. However, carrots, radishes, etc., tuber root, brinjal, cabbages, and all root vegetables are non-edibles for Jains. The majority of the Jain community is still vegetarian, but some laxity is there, such as eating food at night and drinking of non-filtered water and the eating of root vegetables. Like renunciation of night meals for the reasons of innumerable creatures that come out at night, drinking of filtered water is also scientific. Pure water is essential for a healthy life. Eggs. We're going to talk about eggs here. Eggs are the progeny of five-sensed beings. Food produced out of eggs is clearly flesh food. Some people argue that a vegetarian egg cannot give birth to a child. It is lifeless. This statement is untrue because it is a product of the sexual organ of the hen, so not only is it impure, but it also increases in size after birth and does not become rotten. Therefore, it is alive, though it may not possess the capacity to evolve form, but in no way can it be treated as lifeless. So that's very interesting about the eggs, and I'm also do not eat eggs. Some people say that the milk of a cow or goat is also part of the body. However, there's a vast difference between milk and eggs. This understanding is incorrect because an egg is the progeny of a hen. Similarly, milk is not the progeny of the cow. By taking milk out of the body of a cow or goat, no harm is done to their lives. Whereas by use of the egg, the creature inside the egg is killed. If the milk-producing cow or goat is not milked at the proper time, agony is caused to it. Along with the renunciation of wine and meat, Jain religion also preaches the renunciation of honey also. Honey is the excrement of bees. It is produced out of their destruction, and incessantly innumerable jivas are born from it. The basic foundation of Jain food is non-violence. First of all, we should only take such food which involves least possible injury. The question of killing five-sensed beings doesn't arise at all. We should avoid injury to mobile beings also. It is necessary to avoid destruction even of one-sensed beings as far as possible. Jain food conduct has been determined keeping all these things in view. The use of cereals like wheat, rice, etc., pulses like gram, etc., and oil seeds, etc., has been advised because these are fully non-injurious food. Cereals, oil seeds, pulses, etc., are produced only when their plants get dried of their own after their age ends. If green plants are cut, then the cereals too will not be produced in the right state. Their drying in the standing form in the fields is necessary. Therefore, these foods are fully non-injurious food. So I like that a lot. Like you could eat corn, rice, different grains, and oil seeds, like high-fat seeds is what I'm thinking. And they encourage like nuts and seeds and dried fruit. Here it says, although wheat, etc., are fully inanimate, even then they grow on being sown. But rice is even better than these. If the husk is removed from rice, it will not grow upon sowing. Non-germinated cereals, rice, pulses, and oil seeds, devoid of ants and worms, is best vegetarian food. These include dried fruits also. After these, in sequence, the fruits that become ripe on the branches of trees or those fallen from the trees on their own, after becoming ripe, are to be considered. These fruits involve no anguish to any creatures or insects. The reason that they come in order after cereals is that ripened fruits are wet, being juicy. Therefore, there remains the possibility of fast germination of mobile beings in them. This is the reason why they are not considered as harmless as cereals. After these in sequence, vegetables are considered. Because vegetables are in green form only, these are plucked from trees and plants in living sachita state only, being kruk, apratishtit vegetables. These may not contain living beings, but by plucking these, that tree or plant is definitely anguished. Then root vegetables. Tuber roots are totally forbidden as uneatables for two reasons. The first being that vegetables grown underground are the depository of countless of small creatures. The second reason being the uproot of such vegetables definitely results in the destruction of plants and trees. So those are the different types of eatables. Now the uneatables are said to be 5 kinds. Articles involving injury or death of mobile beings, e.g. meat. Articles involving injury to or death to many creatures, e.g. root vegetables, as they involve destruction of countless one-sensed beings. Intoxicants, e.g. wine, etc. Articles not worthy of use, e.g. saliva, stool, and urine. Deprecables, articles causing harm to the health, are uneatables of the 5th category. The basis of Jain food is non-injury, ahimsa. Alright, so I'm just going to skip over some of this. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one here. Vegetarianism and Jainism. The vegetarians do not eat meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Some people who call themselves partial vegetarians eat fish and chicken, but no red meat, such as beef, pork, and lamb. Others who call themselves lacto-ovo vegetarians include eggs along with milk and milk products in their diet. Lacto-vegetarians include milk and milk products, but no eggs in their diet, while fruitarians live on fruits, seeds, grains, and vegetables only. According to Jainism, only lacto-vegetarians and fruitarians are vegetarians. So what Jains call fruitarians is what in the West people call vegans. Because they're saying fruitarians live on fruits, seeds, grains, and vegetables. Here in the West, when we think of fruitarians, we don't think of them as eating grains or vegetables, really, just fruits and nuts and seeds. So, according to Jainism, only lacto-vegetarians and fruitarians are vegetarian. In ancient times, many Greek scholars, including Plato, Socrates, Pythagoras, supported a vegetarian diet. In India, all sages and saints preached the importance of vegetarianism. It is clear that meat has not been a component of the food of all human beings since prehistoric times. Jainism and some other religions say that soul is the entity that distinguishes living beings from non-living objects. They also emphasize that the souls of animals are basically of the same kind as those of human beings, and that all animals, including the tiniest of insects, are seen to avoid dangerous situations, painful experiences, and death. No one can deny that an animal feels pain like a human being. Thus, like humans, all animals have the right to live, and therefore avoidance of the killing of animals is the most important reason for a vegetarian diet. We should not kill any living being for food. It is a violent and selfish act which is totally unnecessary. Most men and women, vegetarians as well as non-vegetarians, find it hard to injure or kill animals. However, many people eat meat because of their lack of awareness of the process of production of meat. If people become aware of these facts, they may give up eating non-vegetarian food. Some people argue that the weaker and smaller animals are always the food of the stronger and bigger animals, and that this is in accord with nature's law. This, however, is the law of animals, not the law of man. Vegetarianism and religion. All the religions and spiritual groups preach nonviolence. This teaching can be extended to cover vegetarianism. One of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not kill. In Islam, it is said, God will not be affectionate to that man who is not affectionate to God's creatures. Some Western religious and spiritual leaders and thinkers, such as John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, were vegetarians. In Indian religions such as Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism, non-violence, ahimsa, is the cardinal principle. This principle entails reverence for all life and precludes deliberate killing or injuring any living organism. Thus, Indian religions place great importance on vegetarianism. The teaching of Bhagavan Mahavir. One should not hurt a living being intentionally or by negligence in the strictest sense. We are not to injure any living organism, however small it may be, directly with our hands, by causing someone to do so on our behalf, or by consent to the act of injury. According to Jainism, meat is a breeding ground for innumerable living organisms, a fact supported by modern biology. Acharya Amrit Chandra Suri, who lived in the 10th century, has written, "The same is true of the eggs, whether fertile or not." It is a fact that vegetarian foods also contain some living organisms. Suri, who lived in the 10th century, has written, "In the raw meat and in the cooked meat, innumerable living organisms are generated incessantly. Thus, he who consumes meat in any form commits violence against a large number of living beings." Jainism tells us that we can only limit violence and avoid unnecessary violence. Non-vegetarianism involves violence which is unnecessary and which can be easily avoided. Bhagavan Buddha placed immense importance on kindness and compassion towards all living beings. His teachings include the following: not superstitious rites, but kindness to servants and underlings, respect to those deserving of respect, self-control coupled with kindness in dealings with living creatures. These and virtuous deeds of like nature are verity, the rites that are everywhere to be performed. In what consists true religion? In causing as little suffering as possible, in doing as much good as possible, and in showing love, compassion, truthfulness, and purity as often as possible. Man is vegetarian by nature. Scientists believe that the diet of any animal corresponds to its anatomical and physiological system. Men, like other vegetarian animals, have well-developed salivary glands, which are needed to pre-digest grains and fruits. Vegetarianism and health. The natural diet of man consists of fruits, nuts, and grains, not meat. Then the question arises, when a human being's natural diet is a vegetarian diet, why do large numbers of people eat animal flesh? There is a variety of reasons for people having a non-vegetarian diet. Most people are concerned about their health, and many people have the misconception that non-vegetarian foods are the only source of getting all the nutrients that can make them strong, healthy, and active. A careful study, however, reveals not only that a vegetarian diet is good for health, but also that a non-vegetarian diet is unnecessary and to some extent detrimental to health. Economics of vegetarianism. Vegetarian diet is less expensive than non-vegetarian diet. The fact is that for every 16 pounds of grain and soy fed to meat animals, only 1 pound of meat is obtained. So that's something to very much consider. Comparatively, 16 pounds of grain and soy contain 21 times more calories and 8 times more protein, but only 3 times more fat than a pound of meat. This implies that vegetarianism is the answer to the colossal problems of population growth and world hunger. People have the misconception that hunger and malnutrition are caused by lack of meat. In fact, hunger and malnutrition are caused by lack of food, and the insufficiency and high price of meat only aggravate these problems. The world produces enough grain, milk, and milk products for all the poor and malnourished people. The tragic truth is that 80 to 90% of all grain produced in America goes for feeding meat animals. Presently, millions of acres of land is used for raising livestock for meat. This same land can be used more productively for growing vegetables, beans, and legumes. Nonviolence and health. The basic tenets of Jainism, nonviolence and truth, are very essential for the physical and mental well-being of all man. Speaking the truth keeps one's conscience clear. It keeps our mind free from guilt and worries. This lessens strains and stresses, and thus has a beneficial effect on the body too. Nonviolence is the basis for vegetarianism. All life is precious. All living beings have their space and role in the scheme of things. Thus, we should protect and preserve life. Survival of the fittest might be nature's way, but we should not interfere with nature. We should respect life. Man seems to be vegetarian by nature. Vegetarian diet appears to be more suitable to human anatomy and physiology. Recently, more and more people are realizing that vegetarianism is better for maintaining good health. We should eat fruits, vegetables, grains, milk, and milk products. We should drink pure water and fruit juices. Our bodies need food, rest, and exercise. Let us eat natural vegetarian food, avoiding meat, fish, eggs, etc. Restraint in eating by way of fasting gives rest to our physical system, and it is helpful. If we want to be healthy, young-looking, and energetic, then we should follow the Jain path outlined above. It is the path of being as close to nature as possible. It is the path of moderation and restraint. A lot of people believe that eggs are a superior food to milk. There's a lot of confusion and misconceptions when it comes to nutrition and good eating habits. Nutrition is not just a matter of taking in the right amounts of basic building blocks or nutrients such as protein, vitamins, etc. How you combine and consume these foods is perhaps more important than what you take. For it is not just the matter of taking the foods into your system, but digesting them successfully to a point where your body is able to assimilate and absorb these vital nutrients. Nature always meant eggs to be life-creating and milk to be life-sustaining. Just as a cow gives milk to the calf, The mother hen who lays eggs does not feed her eggs to her infants. And who has heard of a calf being born from milk? Milk being liquid is easier to digest than eggs. Besides, certain parts of eggs are never digested, and therefore the body has to work harder to handle the eggs. Moreover, eggs have cholesterol. It is true that eggs have pound for pound more protein than milk, but since eggs have no carbohydrates, this protein is difficult to digest. Remember, dal is easy to digest if you eat it with whole wheat chapati or rice, which has high amount of carbohydrates. Vegetarianism and Jainism. Jains are vegetarian because they believe in nonviolence. Violence means to kill or injure, to be angry or be greedy, to engage in self-torture, to be intolerant, not listening to what other people are saying, etc. If we do not take proper care of our body and mind, we are committing violence of self. A vegetarian diet is natural and better for our health as described below. Thus, vegetarianism helps us avoid violence of self. Vegetarians do not eat meat, poultry, or fish. Here are some health reasons why some people don't eat meat. Number 1 is to protect their heart. Animal fat and high cholesterol diet may set a stage for heart disease. In some places where very little fat is eaten, the death rate from heart disease is lower than in other places. Number 2, to reduce the risk of cancer. Animal fat and cholesterol have been linked to some form of cancer, such as the cancer of colon, breast, and uterus. The National Academy of Sciences reported in 1983 that people may be able to prevent many common cancers by eating less fatty meats and more vegetables and grains. A vegetarian diet also reduces the risk of kidney trouble. Number 3 is to control their weight. All right, let's see here. We're going to skip over just a little bit of this. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, we'll stop there. So that is the Jain Diet. So the Jain Diet is what this statement here: we should eat fruits, vegetables, grains, milk, and milk products. And I believe there is, so they also include, there was one other website that I was at that talked about they include high-fat nuts and seeds in the diet too. So really they prioritize grains because that's the most non-injurious food. They call them cereals. And then secondly, dried fruits because they're dried and living beings won't be growing in them like they do in the fresh fruit. And then after that, it's about the green vegetables are more like last because you actually have to cut pieces off the plants to obtain those parts of the vegetables. And then it's not acceptable for the root vegetables. And then certain things like leafy greens like spinach and stuff where there's innumerable amounts of living beings on the leaves and stuff. So that's pretty much it for this video. So I really do like the Jain Diet, and I have incorporated what I can from it. So I think it's very awesome, very great. So I wanted to share that with you in case this is inspiring to anybody else wanting to try out Jainism or the Jain Diet. And thanks for listening, and you all have a great day.